The Seven Secrets of Summer Lake, Chapter 15. The Plot Thickens. We dispatched an airmail letter to Hybub to follow up our brief telegram. I believe it isn't necessary to tell him too much about Bill, Jeannie commented as I was typing the letter. He has taken a liking to Bill, and maybe the friendship would be good for both of them. I suggest you just impress the fact on him that no one must be told about our beavers. I wrote, "There's only one way to keep a secret, and that is to entrust it to no one. Therefore, do not tell Bill. Don't even hint that you have a secret. This is important." Jenny and I were both puzzled and distressed by the sudden departure of John, Corn, and Kona. There had not been the slightest hint of such plans during our campfire visits together the previous night. In fact, we had talked of more camera hunting together and the purchase of several of John's paintings. The supervisor of the campground could give us no information as to where they went. He saw their heavily packed car leaving early that morning and was rather surprised, for they had intended to stay for some time. "Kona," mused Jenny. "Bless his little Indian heart. It seems as if some of the Grand Canyon has gone with him." "Let's hope their trail is a circular one," I commented, "and that whatever way it starts out, it leads back to us." We went back to the tree where our white-tailed squirrel lived. He was there, and he tantalized us in the same manner as before, but there's no one to chatter like a chicory and cause him to move around, so we got no pictures. We made another early morning trip to Point Imperial to photograph the dawn, but there was no one to chant to the sun, so it rose beyond a cloud. A week passed. The intense activity began to cover over our longing for our friends. One evening we went to the great meadows north of the lodge. In fairly good light and within easy range of our cameras, we saw a coyote come trotting out of the forest. He engaged in a brief scuffle with something in the grass and then straightened up with a small snake in his mouth. Holding his trophy proudly, he turned and trotted into the woods again. It was a picture worth having. The sun sank slowly behind peaks in the west, heavy shadows advancing across the meadows. In the dimming light, many deer came quietly into the open space, grazing as they moved forward. We counted 175 of the graceful creatures within sight of the spot where we stood. We received a reply from Hybub. He wrote, "Sorry if I disturbed you in asking permission to tell Bill our secret. A telegram and an airmail letter. I guess I found out it is important to keep quiet. All right, Mum is the word. Now I have a favor to ask. All my life I have dreamed about being at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. When you get down there, will you take some extra pictures for me? And will you tell that river not to go away until I get there, for I am coming sometime for sure." "That's all propaganda," I declared. "Even Hybub is scheming against me." About the lodge, the great conspiracy continued unabated. A party had just returned from a trip to the bottom of the canyon. They enthused over the experience. If they could do it, surely we could," Jenny commented. She wasn't on my side at all. "I have no doubt that we could do it," I replied. "No doubt. We could slide down Mount McNee, too. But what would it do to us? Just look at those folks. Everyone walks as if he were astraddled a redwood log. There are lots of things I won't be able to do in this world. I presume I'll never go to the South Pole. I will never be a flagpole sitter. Riding a mule into Grand Canyon is just another one of those things." Jenny smiled. The same evening, the hotel manager sent for us. He introduced us to a most impressive-looking man named Jack Burns. Jack stood over 6 feet high and looked almost that broad. He wore chaps and spurs and a western hat the size of a small swimming pool. When he shook hands with me, my hand utterly disappeared in his, and came out feeling as if it had been in a wringer. His voice was gentle, his manner to Jenny most courteous, but I had the conviction that I would just as soon be on his side in any argument. "I wanted you to meet Jack," the manager was saying, "because he is in charge of the service to the bottom of the canyon." Yes, said Jack, while I swallowed hard. We can fix you up and be mighty happy to do it. Well, I hope you can find the time to do it, I said, with one of those ha-has that has no merit merriment in it at all. We have so much to do and so little time. No better way to use your time than in the greatest adventure in the world, said Jack in his best drawl. Then, without giving me a chance to say any more, he went into his sales talk. I never faced anything like it. We have heard of the man who sold the national capital to a stranger. I believe Jack could sell it back again. Nothing I could say created the least doubt in his thought that we were going down the canyon. While I was interposing arguments, excuses, and evasions, he was telling me what we should take along, how long we would be gone, where the greatest views would be found. And when you get down there, he said, spreading his huge shoulders wider than ever, please give my best to the folks of Phantom Ranch. You'll like them, and oh man, what meals they serve. By the way, how much do you weigh? I told him, not knowing the object of the question. Oh, pshaw, he ejaculated. That makes you 4 pounds over the limit set for our mules. Jack looked deeply disappointed, but a wave of relief swept over me. Now, isn't that too bad? I said, my feelings belaying my words. Well, nice of you fellows to take such an interest in us and try to arrange everything. Maybe we'll be back in a few years, and by that time I can reduce a bit. Thanks, guess we'll be going. Wait a minute, partner, said Jack. We won't let you be cheated out of that trip. I got an idea. Now, don't break any rules on my account, I protested. I can see how you must set a load limit for those mules, and certainly I wouldn't abuse a mule. There are mules and mules, laughed Jack, his full confidence returning. That load limit is made for our smaller mules that we like to use because they are easier riding. But we have large mules for larger parties. We can give you one of those. Now, there is Z-Bar. Yes, sir, that's the one. Partner, you're going to ride Z-Bar, smartest mule on the staff, and the biggest. Before I knew what was happening, I was carried into completing arrangements for that jiggling journey to the bottom of the canyon. I had the feeling of being adrift in a boat with no oars, just going along with the current towards the brink of a roaring waterfall. Why not go tomorrow? Suggested Jack, now thoroughly triumphant. The weather's perfect and ought to hold out for a few days. Oh, I don't believe Jenny could get ready, I said weakly. Oh, yes, I could, she insisted, in spite of the fact that I had stepped on her toes. Fine, fine, said Jack, rubbing his great hands. And right at that moment, I thought with a splendid executioner he would make. You folks be at the corral at 7 in the morning, and we'll have everything ready for you, mules, guide, and all. Why are you so determined to photograph the sunset tonight? Asked Jenny as we stood watching the changing colors of the western sky. We have more packing to do, and there will be other sunsets. No, I want to record this one, I said determinedly. It may be the last one I'll ever see.